Hi guys. So I haven't seen you all in a week and I'm sorry. It's just been one of those weeks, I was working really hard at work and got home and didn't have the energy, so I apologize. But I did get a request to do a video about ancestor altars in general, and I thought this would be a good time. A lot of people have ancestor altars just around the time of Samhain. I actually have one all year round, but at Samhain time it gets much bigger and kind of has a, is a focal point in my room. So I figured I'd give you some ideas for ancestor altars. I have to say, first of all, I can't believe I caved, but I finally found in my local store, so I thought, okay, I kind of have to know what all the hubbub is about, and I really like it. So thanks so much, all you enablers out there. The only problem I have with it is that it's naturally decaffeinated, which for me, I drink tea partly because I love the caffeination. Is that a word? I love the caffeine in it. I drink it because I want to have the caffeine in it. So that's kind of a downside, but it does taste really super good. So I'm on the bandwagon. Okay, so ancestor altars. First of all, someone, I think it was my mother, said to me, why would you have an ancestor altar? So to me, there's several reasons. First of all, I want to remember my ancestors and honor them. So the ancestor altar to me is a reminder of their life. It is a way for me to make sure that I'm taking a little time out of my week to honor who they were. And for me personally, I feel like I connect to my ancestors still, even though they have crossed over. So I use that as a way to call them in, to connect to them. So some of the things that I have on my ancestor altar, you may not want to have on your ancestor altar. So that is the other thing to talk about, is that your ancestor altar is your own. So again, the stuff that I have on my ancestor altar, yours may look completely different, and that's okay. You have to decide, if you decide you want an ancestor altar, why would you do that? And based on why you would have an ancestor altar, what is it that you want on that altar? If it's to honor your ancestors, then what do you feel would honor the people that you're remembering? If it's to connect to them, then what do you want to draw them in? So a couple things. Pretty universally, one of the first things that you want to have on your ancestor altar is photos of your ancestors. So, me being the thrifty witch person, when I go to thrift shops, one of the things that I look for, and I always pick up, I probably have way too many of these now, but is the little frames. This is kind of morbid, sorry, but I pick up little frames all over the place, and they don't have to be super little, but like, see, that's a doggy frame. That's a doggy frame. We have, to me, part of my ancestry is animals, because our animals were always a part of our family, and so I honor them as a part of my ancestry. Or you can pick up ones that have several smaller pictures in it. You can pick up the collage ones if you want to do a big one hanging over your ancestor altar with, most of the ancestors in it. Do that. Even if, let's say, I have a few ancestors that I don't have pictures of. One of them, and if you've ever watched, I have a video when I first started that talks about why I became a pagan, and is with my youngest son in there. And I talk about the twin that I lost when he had a twin. My youngest son had a twin, and I lost the twin. So I don't have any pictures of him, but I have something that on my altar that represents him. Actually, it's a little baby block, a little wooden baby block, and someone had made it out of a candle holder. And I thought that was a really good representation. So to me, that represented the son that I lost. And so I can remember him that way. If you don't have pictures of them, give yourself something that to you means that person. Either you have an item of theirs that was, you know, they gave you a ring or a watch or whatever, and you want to put that on the ancestor altar, that will remind you about that ancestor when you're honoring that ancestor. That will be included, or something that makes you think of that ancestor. I have an uncle that, you know, we don't have very many pictures of, that loved apple pie. So I have a little picture of an apple pie, or there's a million different ways. You know, a little stuffed bear that reminds you of them because they won you a stuffed bear one time. Whatever it is, you decide what ancestors you want to honor and have something for every one of your ancestors. Be it a photo, be it something that reminds you of them, whatever. Have something to represent that ancestor on your altar. You want to choose the altar cloth based on those ancestors. When I do an altar cloth, I'm trying to remember what's on there right now. I think it's, let me preface all of this by saying I have taken over skulls as a good thing. In my house, skulls mean positive energy. It means my ancestors. It's, to me, when I use my crystal skulls, it is can be an open conduit. So if my ancestors want to come visit me, they can put themselves into one of my crystal skulls and talk to me. Now, am I saying that the crystal skulls suddenly come to life and start talking to me? No, but if I feel a nagging sensation that I need to go over and light some incense on my ancestor altar, and then I start thinking about a conversation I had once with one of my ancestors. I hope I don't get little helicopters from my maple trees in my tea. Then I know that one of the ancestors has come in, and sometimes having an open conduit is helpful to pulling in their energies. And sometimes it's easier for them if they have something open to be close to you that you're expecting. Okay, if you want to talk to me, go ahead and come into this, and then, you know, I'll meditate with it. That works for me. It may not work for you. You may find that really creepy. It's okay. Again, this is your ancestor altar. Use it however you want to use it. Don't break stuff. Okay, so this is an altar cloth that I used on my ancestor altars this year. And it's just kind of sheer, and it has little skeletons on it. So I thought that was really cute. Now I think I have an orange one that has little scullies on it. If your ancestor altar, you haven't lost many people, so you think, why would I have an ancestor altar? Because I haven't lost many people in my life. Don't forget that there are ancestors that you do not remember, that you never met before. I have an ancestor, my grandmother's mother. I feel like I put a representation of her on my altar after a few years because I felt like she was presenting herself to me as someone that wanted to help guide me through my life. So I have a representation of her. I never met her, but I've heard stories of her. There are also ancestors that there was no way that I could know generations ago, that I feel like I have ancestors lined up behind me, helping me through my life. And so I call out to all of my ancestors. Some of them I know by name, and some of them I just know I have generations of ancestors behind me helping to push me along in life. Okay, having said that, candles. I feel that candles are an important part of your ancestor altar. I do not, some people who don't have pets or kids or something feel comfortable leaving like a glass pillar candle lit all the time. That's okay if you feel comfortable. Please, please, please be safety conscious though. That kind of scares me. because I have cats and kids, and even though my kids are older now, it's still But when I specifically go to meditate in front of my ancestor altar, I will light a candle, or I will light a candle. So this one is almost done, but this one has been on my ancestor altar for a couple months and is getting down there. So I like to use black candles on my ancestor altar just because the meaning of it to me is the absence of energy. So it allows my ancestors to use that void, that absence, to present themselves. That's my meaning. Once again, if that isn't your meaning, do what you do, what feels right for you. That's just for me. You're welcome to use it if that feels right for you, but it's not a given. If you think purple candles because you're honoring your mother and your mother's favorite color was purple, awesome, use purple candles. I'm sure that your mother watching you is saying, hell yeah, use those purple candles. Use whatever is right for you. Okay, another thing that I added this year, I just spilled my buttermint tea, but I didn't spill it on anything, that's good, is offering bowls. So one of the things when I go to thrift shops, now these ones I didn't get at thrift shops, I found them at one of my local metaphysical shops, and I got a really good deal on them. They're onyx. But when I go to thrift shops, I look for little dishes to use for offering bowls for all kinds of stuff. For all my altars, for my outdoor altars, I have several altars around the house. And for my goddesses, my gods, my guardians, my ancestors, my whatever. When I feel like I need to give back to them, I have a little dish there. And sometimes you can have salt in your offering bowl, and that is just to cleanse the energy. If you feel like things are getting a little negative, have salt down. My husband just gave me these little shot glasses, which I thought were the cutest little things. They could be great offering dishes on your ancestor altar, little shot glasses. Speaking of cleansing, I always put a selenite piece on my ancestor altar. To me, that just keeps the energy renewing. Selenite is a very cleansing energy stone. So it just keeps renewing that energy so it doesn't get stagnant and stale. Even ancestors with good intentions can hang around for too long. You don't want that energy to stay in one place. It's, I don't know, that's a weird entrapment kind of thing. It's not a good thing. So selenite to me cleanses that altar of all the energies continually. So you have energy movement. Butterfly stickers. I like having butterflies around because it is a symbol of transformation. The transformation from death into a new life, into whatever you believe on that side, into heaven if you believe in heaven, into reincarnation, into wherever you go to pick your new life. That is the transformation. What am I not thinking of? Salt, cleansing. Keep something to cleanse. If you don't have selenite, keep a little dish of salt. That helps to cleanse the energies too. Candles, incense. I always have incense on my altar. It's one of the things, it's like a ritual to me to light the incense. Again, it transforms the energy in the air. A lot of times, based on what ancestor I think is talking to me, what ancestor I want to open myself up to, I will pick a scent that I think they would have liked or reminds me of them. Or I have a lilac incense for my grandmother who grew lilac trees, and I know I've said in some of my other videos I have a staff that I made, a walking stick with the wood from one of the trees out back that got knocked over and all that kind of stuff. So different scents. Let's say, you know, around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, I think of my grandmother a lot. She was the matriarch of the family and would cook incredibly all of the holiday meals. So I think of her cooking pumpkin pie and cooking mashed potatoes, and so I might get a candle, a pumpkin spice candle, to think of my grandmother and pull my grandmother's spirit and energy. So what do you do with your ancestor altar? So I have, like I said, I have one out all year round. It is normally, when it's not Samhain time, it is in a place that's mostly just for me, so that I can go to it and honor and meditate in front of and talk to and whatever my ancestors. Around Samhain time, because the veil is thin, it plays a more prominent part in my witchy room, so other people can see it. And to me, it's good when they ask me about it, because I can tell them what it's for, what I think of it, and that's part of how I honor my ancestors. So please feel free to put anything in your altar you want. I hope I've made that really clear. I know I've said it several times, but anything that feels right for you is right, is correct. On a side note, with Samhain coming, the veil is the thinnest at Samhain and Beltane. Beltane I use more for fairies and stuff, to connect to those kind of energies. Samhain to me is very ancestor oriented, so I'm going to be doing a dumb supper again this year. And if you don't know, I think I'm going to try to invite some people that haven't ever been before. I have a couple friends and a couple people at work that I may invite. If you don't know what that is, it is a silent supper. Dumb meaning no one talks. You have a spot at the head of the table for the ancestors. If it's a small, like you're only going to be you, or you and your friend, or you and your husband, or you and your sister, or whatever, you may want to have one setting for each of the ancestors you're honoring. That's okay. I have lots of ancestors, and we usually have the whole family over. So we clear off one spot. We have one spot for the ancestors at the head of the table, and we set the table with an empty plate. Everyone who comes knows that they are bringing a 3x5 card with a little prayer, a little saying, something that you want to tell the ancestor. You pick one ancestor that you want to honor this year at this occasion. So let's say it's your grandma, and you want to tell her that you didn't get to say goodbye, and you're upset at the way she left, and you miss her and you love her and all that. You write all that down on the card. When you get to the house, there's no speaking. As soon as you come into the house, you have candles lit. You have checked with everyone ahead of time and have foods that your ancestors liked. So their favorite foods, the holiday meals that you used to have as family, however you want to do that. Either their favorite thing. We have, like I said, our animals are a part of my ancestor altar. So I'll have, a dog dish down with a couple pieces of steak in it, because of course they love that. The cat's dish has a little piece of salmon. It's a special dinner. So although if your ancestor loved pizza, you should have a piece of pizza there. Candles are lit, and your dining area should be lit only by candlelight. You can have music if you want it. I would suggest, I don't have music, but I would suggest if you're going to have music, do not have music with words in it. It should be instrumental music. And, oh, look at the little bug. Oh, he's so cute. Can you see him? He's cute. Anyways, I bet you that's one of my ancestors. Hi. I honor you. And you proceed through dinner, and the idea is everyone is thinking, I keep getting hit, Here's my little helicopter seat. Everyone is thinking of their ancestor and honoring their ancestor and talking to them in your head and meditating about how they lived and how you want to be more like them or less like them. Or you're saying goodbye to them in your head. Whatever it is you need to do with that ancestor, that's what you're doing. At the end of which, the leftover food, see, this is hard. If you're in the city, I don't know how. Really, ideally, what you need to do is put it out in nature someplace where some of the animals can have it. If you're in the city or something, find a way to naturally get rid of it. Either there's a stream or canal or something you can kind of pack it up and dump it into a stream, or find a park or something that animals could come into. The idea is that it's consumed naturally by outside forces. And then everyone, you snuff the candles out. Everyone walks out of the house. Concludes the dinner. The dinner is concluded. Then you come back in, turn the lights on, and talk about your ancestors. Tell stories about them. Talk about any experiences you had. Talk about what you think you were supposed to learn. What did you learn? Did you have an epiphany? I find that it's very interesting what it brings up for people about their ancestors. So it's just something to think about. It's a way to honor the ancestors, and I hope that you all find a way in some menial way. Light a candle and think about your ancestors. Even if you have no one close to you that has died, again, you have ancestors lined up behind you that you never knew that are rooting for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. I've missed you all. I'm going to try to do maybe one more. Depends. I have a couple ideas too. And I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. Oh, I've already done my Samhain incense recipe. I think I did last year, so take a look if you want to know. It smells awesome. Have a great weekend.